Welcome to the Navigator Podcast.
Welcome to this episode of The Navigator. My name is Brad Malone, Managing Partner of Navigate Management Consulting. With me today is Tawfiq Indawala, Director of Product Management for Solutions 360. Welcome, good to see you.
Thanks, Brad, likewise.
So, we work together all the time. We chat with people. What's a cause for concern, or what's a question that you're hearing out there?
Well, one of the phenomena that people are really running into is the project management. Like it seems to be, let me go out there, fix stuff that's out, that needs to get done. What
Right.
are my guys need help, and let me go out there on site and deal with the things that that needs to be dealt with. So I'm seeing a shift in the industry about establishing project management as a practice.
Okay.
So hopefully we can talk a little bit about project management, like the PMO as we normally use it, right? So what is the purpose of a PMO? Who is a PMO?
Okay. And I've been a project manager and teaching project management for over 30 years now. And every industry kind of goes through phases. 20 years ago, IT went, oh, PMO is it, and you got to get one because it's a silver bullet. And so I'm going to hopefully share some information that doesn't make it that way in this industry. But what I find is that we often confuse project managers and project management. And to me, in this industry, given that sales and engineering are truly the first project managers, they're setting the expectation, they're setting the scope, they're setting up the price and the effort. It's really, how does the company sell and manage projects? And then there are roles within that. So now let's move to kind of a project management office or a project management function. This industry, again, is used to taking a very good technical lead tech person who's very skilled at problem solving and throwing them into projects, because they view projects as potential problems, and therefore a problem solver is the one that will solve it. Well, again, kind of like a carpenter, every problem looks like a nail. So most lead techs never knew how to plan, and I'm not degrading them, it's like they're wonderful in their role, but if they're going to shift that, we need to change the mentality of that. So a project management structure and belief system is, how do we plan? And how do we plan across interdependencies? Most technicians and most people who come from that technical side plan in sequence. A goes to B, goes to C, goes to D. Well, if a project was like that, they'd all be easy. So it's learning the mentality of, and again, we had a discussion on work breakdown structure. How do those elements, those 8 to 10 elements, all interweave, and how are they interdependent? So let's go back to, so that's part of the kind of the DNA of a PMO is, are we teaching people to actually understand the discipline of project management? I know what you said, the purpose of it is to predictably deliver results. Okay? It's not to say you must make all projects on time and on budget, especially those projects that were underestimated and given a date that no one could make happen.
Right.
So again, the expectations of, it's about predictably managing projects, being confident in it, sharing information, working within the organization's resources. So a PMO is also not an island. We're working with a whole lot of other resources. We've got, again, my ops manager and sales manager. It's like, how are we sharing engineering? How are we using tax? How are we doing commissioning? So a project manager has to use resources from other functions throughout the organizations through planning.
Right. And so PMO is not necessarily one person, right? It's a body, a group of people that could be made up of a PM, a sales rep, an operation manager. We're basically establishing standards, that structure.
Right? Yeah, it's usually on the ops side, but it's typically the execution arm of the project management function. So I could have project coordinators in there. I could have people who are doing the resource calendar as part of that PMO. Again, assigning resources to the project schedule. And then, as you and I talk often, it's not one project that gets you in trouble. It's that one project and what it did to the 5 others that were using those resources.
Right.
So key piece of the PMO function or belief system is the portfolio. And not just what are the portfolio of projects, what's the portfolio of resources. So most, I talk about the 4 Ps periodically: portfolio, project, process, and people. People tend to hone in on the project and say, our projects are terrible. We need better project managers. We need a PMO. I'm like, okay, what's your funnel into the company? We don't have one. We don't pay attention to it. We just win anything we can at whatever point in time we can. I'm like, okay, that might be a problem.
And we just get the work done.
You just get the work done. How's your process standardization? Do you have standards in terms of, just how do we crimp a wire? How do we hang a screen? How do we do anything? Do you have standards? No, we just let people do whatever they want. Great. Do you have some ramification in training and competence? No. Okay, so how are you going to solve this? We're going to blame our project managers. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just think for a moment. Let's think through all of that as a package. So it's really thinking about what's the role of a project manager, but more importantly, how does our company sell and manage projects? And projects always have uniqueness to them, but how do we also sell projects that have lots of similarities to them? Right. I find companies that standardize on their work breakdown structures manage their projects way better.
So it's not just about how is a PM asking for equipment? How is PM scheduling it? It crosses other areas of operation. Like you said, well, how do we trim wire? So it's a philosophy on and training around how every element of your project is executed. So how you're coaching and mentoring your people, the training on delivering project management, executing project management, how project is actually measured, how it's planned, and all of it from end to end.
Absolutely, and it's so I'm not having anyone abdicate responsibility, but does the company understand project risk? Okay. And if sales and engineering doesn't see any risk in a project, they're going to underestimate or they're going to leave out contingency, and then they're going to throw this ugly project full of uncertainty and risk to a PM and say, go manage it. And then they'll also say, but remember, don't track all your time because we don't want to know. Well, now you can just go down that capacity conversation. So it's really all companies within this environment, systems integration, they're project driven.
Right.
Which means that they sell projects, but they sell it through labor. And labor is the key resource, and that's what has to be managed. So the whole labor pool has to have the belief system that it's about managing those people predictably, effectively, efficiently to meet the goals of not only a project, but all of the projects within the portfolio.
Yeah. So it's not about how each project managers are doing different things to come to an outcome. It's having a standardization as a company that this is our PMO. These are our project management standards. So what is essential for PMO success?
I think a belief by other people that it's important. We have to start there, and we have to give it time to be. And it's also, so we often come again from that background of that belief system that a PM is a great hero or a PM is a great firefighter. And again, I've been across many industry, and I've trained thousands of people in project management for the Project Management Institute. And to me, a mature project manager is managing a non-event, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a Lao Tzu or a Sun Tzu quote. A good leader is if at the end of the battle they wondered, why did we need them? So it's one of that. It's like if I manage a project incredibly well, it'll make the project look easy. Right. So we need to reward the reduction of drama, the reduction of chaos, and just get our minds around it's not about heroism or firefighting, it's about planning, addressing things early. A huge piece of project management is managing change. And you and I talk about, CCOs, ICOs, and how every project should have a change order. Immature companies will have this, don't allow change, that's scope creep. So we just have all these myths inside of the companies that really need to go back. And, I've got a whole bunch of questions that within the sheet of like, what does it take to form a PMO? We're going to put that up on our resource page in the Navigate website to really help people through. And I'll put a couple things up there to really forward this discussion. So, yeah, please.
So, you talk about all these myths about, change orders and all that kind of stuff around the stringent. Now, I know I've talked to many companies over the years, and they think that the project management is a necessary evil to get to service and the RMR portion of it. Are they leaving a lot of money on the table and is that just because they haven't figured out their project execution?
Well, I'll answer that, but I'll do it another way in terms of leaving money at the table. The projects, I'll say the last 10% of projects tend to bleed about 50% of the profit. So we have this, again, the mentality of hurry and get it done because it's based on time or on cost, and then we deliver poor quality to service. I think that companies are project driven, but what keeps them in business is a great handoff between projects and service. Projects have two customers. They have their client to deliver the solution to use it, but service, I think, is an incredibly important client because a project could be 6 months long. Right. Service, I want to be 10, 15, 20 years long.
Absolutely.
So a well-run project sets up service for success. When service is successful, we get repeat business. So I'd love to have another conversation on just the handoff, between projects and service, and it usually feels more like a drop-off, ring the doorbell and run. But that's also part of that culture and belief of a company. They're not respecting people downstream. So that's what's key.
That'll be a fun one, I think.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of questions that a company can ask themselves, like the operation managers, the C-level management, that would lead them to think that they actually need to have a proper PMO standards?
Well, how much drama, how much chaos, how many callbacks do we have? So that's the key question. And again, you and I could talk for hours on this one. I don't think our listeners would want us to, but it's measuring, but don't focus on the PM. It's how much drama and chaos are we putting into the system because we're not managing our projects. We're reacting to our projects. And that's because we haven't taught people to really, and we haven't taught sales and sales engineers to kind of serve project management. Doesn't mean subservient to them, but if it's about project execution, the front piece of the company has to see that as important. And so that's a key question is sales and operations, are they connected? Do they see each other as interdependent and codependent, or do they see it as just go make stuff happen? And if we can't answer that well, a PMO won't help.
Well, Brad, thanks for sharing your thought. I think this was a good one.
Very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.